Welcome to a new episode of Outside the Panels with your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes.
Welcome everyone to an episode of Outside the Panels. I'm your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, celebrating a Week 3 Finns win in which they put 70 points on the Denver Broncos. Of course, if we don't win the Super Bowl now, it's just a regular season game. So, fingers crossed, guys. Fins up. All right, enough football. We're here to talk about comic books. And you know I love a good Kickstarter. I also hear that there's some risks in Kickstarters. What if it doesn't fund? What if it just doesn't happen? Well, this book is already funded and you've still got time to get involved. It is the brainchild and genius of TV producer, director, all-around good guy, Jerry Carita. Jerry, how's it going?
I'm doing great, Johnny. That was my favorite intro for any of these things I've done so far. That was great. Thank you.
Oh, yay.
I wish my wife could have heard it, you know?
You're welcome. You're welcome. You love the Dolphins too, I guess. All right, excellent.
Of course. They play hockey. That's a hockey team, right?
And that's the end of the show, guys. I've been your host. No, I'm joking. I jest. All right, Jerry, we're here to talk about your Kickstarter. Tell us all about it.
It is a short comic. It's called Cicada Samurai. It's about a lone cicada who is immortal and he has magical samurai powers, and his job, his charge is to try and protect the millions of other cicadas that are born every generation.
All right, excellent.
And so, yeah, that's the log line. And what I have to keep on telling people is, it's a cicada, so the character's about this big. You know, he's a little insect. That's the whole thing. It's an insect, and so the armor is what makes it look like the big, bulky, ugly, dopey-looking, stupid cicada thing that we see every 17 years. They are. I just got obsessed with them basically 2 years ago when the big Brood X emerged in 2021, I think it was.
Okay.
And they're just bonkers little creatures. They're helpless. They're only above ground for long enough to basically mate and drop dead. That's how much time above ground they get.
But what a way to go, though, right?
What a way to go. That's it. That's it. The whole world would be a better place if that's all we had to worry about. If that's it, I'm
just thinking now of all the cicada dysfunction that goes on in the world.
Yeah.
Like, damn it! Oh,
yeah. That's it. You drop dead right away.
You should have a villain in there called One Shot. You'd be sorted.
That's it. And it's really sad. Yeah, I get so many jokes, but you just finished telling me it's an all ages show, so I have to.
I did say that.
You did say that.
Yeah, I did say that at the start. So go look that one
up. But so I started thinking. I'm a dad. I have 3 kids. My oldest is 12. He's starting to spend more and more time in places where I can't keep him safe, where he's not with me, with friends out in the world, riding his bike, things like that. And so I started thinking, like, that's nerve-wracking for me. Imagine if, and I have 3 of them I have to keep alive. Imagine if I had 1 million kids who all hit 17 at the same time, and I was the only adult, and it was my job to keep all of them alive, in the face of predators and monsters that just want to kill and eat all of them. And that's kind of the thing that I built the story on, was that notion. So he's essentially the only adult, and he's got these magical fighting powers, and he's got this awful job that he's going to fail at.
Thanks. Spoilers.
Well, there's 1 million of them. Some of them are not going to make it.
Not to get too political about this, but the idea of keeping kids safe. Even today, as we're recording this, over here in the UK, a 15-year-old girl was stabbed on the school bus.
Right.
On the way from school, right? We hear all the time about sort of the attacks that happen in American schools.
Right.
Just the kind of real life dangers that people face. Not potentially an everyday danger.
Right.
Does that build into the kind of some of the tension and the kind of stress that you feel as a parent that you've managed to translate and transcribe into this?
It does, because you hear those stories every day. And years ago, I genuinely think that there's a thing in the States where one political party is always saying that all the cities are falling apart and more riddled with crime than they ever have been.
Mhm.
And the other political party, like putting their fingers in their ears and pretending nothing's happening.
Mhm.
And somewhere in the middle is the truth, I think.
Yeah.
Years ago when I was a kid, New York City was actually a relatively dangerous place.
Mhm.
I used to ride the subway when I was in high school, an hour and a half each direction through a lot of shady neighborhoods to get to school in the city.
Mhm.
And that was in the 90s when it was actually kind of scary. So when people today are like, New York is terrifying, it's like this much worse than the best it's ever been.
Yeah.
No, it's not terrifying. But because social media, because 24-hour news cycle, every story is played a million times. So
That's true.
You hear the story about the young girl who got stabbed in the UK.
Yeah.
You'll hear that over and over again from one side. And it makes it just builds anxiety inside you. It makes you scared, for your own kids, whether that's rational or not. Because, again, the world today is a lot safer than it was when I was a kid 30 years ago. So my kids are relatively safe.
Good.
But you still want them to be like, you want to put bubble wrap around them. It's like nothing is safe enough for your babies. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
And that's sort of what it is. So it's like this anxiety that he has. It's like that's kind of how it became a samurai story. Like, as a parent, as an adult, you kind of have this need to keep the kids safe and keep an eye on them. And it's it's rational, it's biological, it's it ensures the survival of the species and all that. But there's nothing stopping me from one day going, you know what, I'm gonna go. Just best of luck to you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some laws stopping me, but I could just watch.
It's marriage. Just once you get married, they're off. It's like, right, it's your partner's problem. Work it out. Go
I'm
get
out.
them, Tiger.
Best of luck to you guys.
It's interesting what you say about the news cycle, because I know lots of friends during the lockdown, which we said the L words, they'd watch the news in the morning, they'd watch the news at lunchtime, and they'd watch the news in the evening and then at night time. And of course, all he kept telling you was this has happened, or this many people have died, or da-da-da-da-da. And of course, it's on repeat because nothing else is happening in the world. So that builds up that level of, oh my God, when really, in fact, the way to get around it is to pick a time to watch the news, whenever that may be, and that's your time. You watch it at 6 o'clock, and that's it. You turn it off after that. You
hear it for 1 hour. Yeah. You hear the story one time. Yeah. It's a thing that happened. You can file it away in your head wherever it goes, and then you can go on to something else. Cool. That's a healthy way to do it, and we don't really do that anymore. So, so there's a lot more anxiety in the world, whether it's rational or not. Is totally however you feel, but you feel the anxiety regardless, whether it's for real reasons or not. And that's sort of what this thing is about for me. Is like, there are real monsters in this world that I'm building. There's in real life, when cicadas come out, millions of them are eaten by foxes and birds, and they're ripped apart, and praying mantises just demolish them. And tons of them don't make it. Tons of them barely get off the ground. They don't even get to start climbing trees and going to that big party in the sky. Before so tons of them don't make it. And so but someone has to ensure the survival of the species. So that's my cicada samurai, who's like got this impossible job.
So you've worked in TV, correct?
Yes sir.
Yeah. How'd you go from working in TV, which is quite I suppose a fluid medium? I don't know anything about it. I'm a review from the cheap seats, but it seems quite fluid, quite hectic, quite always on the go, to something more comic book based, which at times it must seem pedestrian. How do you manage to go from one medium to the other?
Well, I'm actually having a lot more fun doing this than I have on a lot of. Yes, do you hear that? Is it bad? Sorry, I'm in New York. There's a horn honking right outside.
Oh, wait! New York. So you're in New York. So it tells me, are you a Jets fan or a Giants fan?
You're dying to have me pick a football team here. Huh?
Well, I'm not. Hey, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I said right there. I know exactly where I am. It's fine. If you're the Giants, your team sucks. If you're Jets, your team's even worse because it's Aaron Rodgers. But it's fine.
Right, because your team sucked and then it got worse.
You had a chance with Aaron. Anyway, sorry. Sorry. No football. Stop the football talk.
It's all right.
So, sorry, back to the question. How do you go for... So, what is it about comics you enjoy more than working in TV?
So, in TV, and, I most of my television was unscripted. So, I did a lot of reality TV. So, I did Wife Swap and the show Counting Cars, and I'm doing a true crime series right now with A&E, The Food That Built America. Like these are documentary series, you kind of or reality TV series or competition series where you're kind of filming a ton of stuff, and then you'll sit with an editor and kind of make a story almost after the fact. You shoot with a plan, but then you really make the show in post with an editor with a window with 6 weeks to make the whole thing make sense, and then you never get to touch it again. And what I enjoy about this is I can write whatever story I want. It costs the same amount of money to produce a book about cicada samurais as it would to produce a book about two guys in a room having a conversation. The art is the art, like the printing is the printing. And so that frees you up to tell whatever story you want, whatever ridiculous series of combination of things you like in the world that you want to kind of cram together into a fun story. Like what we're talking about here, my anxiety about parenting, except with martial arts bugs. It's like, I love it. It's amazing, and so that's what I love about it. And it's collaborative with one person, and ultimately it's you and your artist together can decide what is it that we're making, and then that's what you make. There aren't, especially because I'm independent, so I'm not. It's not Batman I'm drawing. I don't have a league of editors and 70 years of backstories that I have to contend with. I can do whatever I want. For this one at least, and it's a lot of fun.
And that's, I mean, that I hear that a lot from a lot of Kickstarters I talk to. The fact that the joy of it is you can go in all directions. You're not tied down to one particular continuity, and you can do it. It's your character. If he gets eaten by the third issue, he gets eaten by the third issue. That's it. Yeah.
Right.
Whereas with Batman, there always has to be the kind of red button clause. Yeah. Right. We can do all this, but when we're done, put it back to where you left it. Put the toys away. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like in TV lingo, it's like writing a sitcom. Yeah. Like a sitcom, every episode, you're at the same starting place as you were the last episode. And by the end of the episode, all's well, that ends well, and then you just rinse and repeat with a different scenario. And you don't ever really progress and become somebody different.
I suppose. I mean, some of the longer running ones like Friends and The Big Bang Theory, they managed to weave there like a narrative, like the Penny and Leonard thing, right? And Ross and Rachel and all that. But I get it because there's a whole middle couple of seasons of Friends where there's absolutely nothing going on, and Monica and Chandler saved the whole show for me. Right. I was like, if I get another bunch of episodes where nothing ever generally happens,
right,
I'm done.
Yeah,
I need to see that kind of progression somewhere. So
right, but you kind of get that if you're writing Superman. You ultimately, if you go too far away from the story everyone is kind of aware of, eventually they find some way to kind of turn back time, start over, and then you meet Clark Kent all over again, and he's a reporter, and Lois is a reporter, and Jimmy Olsen's somewhere involved in photography or social media, but they just kind of reboot it and start over.
So I suppose that if that's the benefit of being indie, the negative is that no brand awareness, right?
That's true. Yeah, you have to go out and like if I was writing Superman, people know Superman. I can go, I'm writing Superman, and they go, what?
Wow.
Exactly. I'm writing Cicada Samurai, and they go, huh? It's a little different. Yeah. It's a slightly different reaction for sure. It's the brand awareness, and also I think that like rules and not guidelines, but like barriers around what you can write. I think that breeds creativity, because you find kind of, if you're stuck in this lane here, you find creative ways to bounce back and forth between those things. Yeah. And if you're totally untethered by anything, you can come up with stuff that's, maybe unreadable. So there's sort of a middle ground, and some people I think thrive in one and thrive in the other. I'm having fun in this right now. I would absolutely write Superman if it's offered to me, but I'm having fun with this right now.
Fair enough. I remember years ago I was buying Star Trek novels. I love Trek. And my brother was, and my brother was like, "Why are you reading this pap? It's just throwaway books. Why don't you read something clever like Douglas Adams or whatever?" I'm like, "Because I like Trek," and I'm like, he goes, "But nothing ever happens. They don't kill Picard. Day's never going to happen anything. Kirk's always going to survive." I was like, "Yeah, but that's where the true genius comes from, because you know this going into the book. Nothing's going to happen to Kirk, Spock, McCoy, the crew, whether it's DS9, Voyager, or whatever. You know this."
Yep.
and yet you still stick around for 250 to 400 pages and enjoy the ride. So that's
Right.
that's a talent, right?
There's a thing that they teach writers, like all the way back to, I remember like in college doing a screenwriting class where with the expression is either I've heard it, either you have to kill your babies or you have to kill your darlings. And so you're creating these characters, and every once in a while you have to kill one of them. You have to like destroy one of them, break their heart, hurt them. These are people you love that you invented. When you're doing like Star Trek, if you're writing a Star Trek episode or a book, they're not your babies, they're not your darlings, and you're not allowed to kill them. You have to find another way to tell a good story.
Yeah.
It's just a different muscle, it's a different creative muscle in your head. But both are great stories. Both are like, there's loads of TV shows that have been really good. Like, do you like Star Wars stuff too?
Yeah.
Did you watch Andor?
Yeah, I loved Andor.
So I loved Andor. That was my favorite of all the Star Wars TV series I've seen so far. That's been my favorite one. He's going to live because he's in Rogue One. He's not going to die. He's going to make it, but it's still captivating. The whole world is captivating. The story, how he becomes the person he's going to be, is amazing. It's a great show.
It is, and it's a mature show. It's like it's Star Wars for adults.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I said about Rogue One when it first came out. It's the only of all the movies, putting Han Solo aside, of all the other. Like Han Solo? I enjoy it. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was absolutely a lot of fun, which I think is all it needed to be. Totally fun. But Rogue One was, it's like for adults. It was like this is the first time where they treated it like there was a real rebellion. This is like the cost of war, the cost of rising up, and all the other movies, it was just kind of more of a fantasy, more of like a fairy tale, good versus evil,
good guys, bad guys. In Andor, you find out that the good guys are pretty much grey.
Yeah, like and they have to be, because they're also, they're like, some people would call them terrorists. Like,
you bring. I remember as a kid, I've got this Star Wars comic over here. We used to get like weeklies and have puzzles on and stuff. And there was one clue. It for 2 words, 4-4, and the clue was Han and Luke. And I was like, I can't get it. I asked my granddad, "Wow, what's this? I don't get it." And he said, "I don't understand Star Wars." I was like, So anyway, the next week came around, and I looked at the puzzle answers to see what the answer is. And it was good guys. I'm like,
oh wow.
I'm like, they're not good guys, because they're going up against the government.
Yeah.
How can they be good? I was more about 10 or 11 or something like that. And it just sort of like that moment of like clarity of, they're not good guys. They're going against.
It's funny how all those sensibilities will change. Like, in America, the way we tell the story of our own revolution from you guys, you remember when we kicked your ass? Remember that?
Oh, wait a second. I know this. This is Kick Out the British Day, right?
That was it. Kick Out the British Day. Yeah. 1776. Kick out first annual Kick Out the British Day.
Yeah. Cool. But you still drink tea. Just
by the way, this is iced tea right here. I love it.
Hey, it's got tea in it.
I'm for it. But the way we tell that story is that it's like a rebellion against an oppressive something. But from the other side of that same conversation, those guys were terrorists. Those guys were like rabble rousers and rebels, and they were doing lots of stuff that was gray. There was lots of like the whole like guerrilla warfare thing that we kind of like started doing at that point was considered at the time to be very like disgraceful and sneaky. So it's all the perspective, right? And with Andor and Star Wars, it's like the rebels they're breaking laws. They're operating in the gray. Han Solo is a smuggler. He is a criminal. Like that's his day job,
Day job, bad guy. And that scoundrel, scruffy looking scoundrel. And this is why I never got George Lucas, where he says, "Oh no, Greedo has to shoot first because Han's a good guy." Han's not a good guy.
No,
he's got dental to his eyeballs, and he's smuggling spice, which is effectively drugs.
Yes, he's been a smuggler. You don't be a smuggler for that long with the Empire on your tail without being willing to shoot someone that
exactly. Oh my God,
he would shoot that guy. He would shoot that guy. All due respect to Mr. Lucas, he would shoot that guy right in the face.
Crazy. Right, enough. Let's back to you. No. Let's get back to you. Shall we get back to you? All right. Okay, we're going to have a quick look before a break. We're going to have a look at your Kickstarter, because as I mentioned before, it is doing absolutely tickety-boo. Let me just find the page for you here. We'll share it with everybody. Is this your first Kickstarter, Jerry?
It's my first one personally. I ran one for Blue Juice Comics, which is a bunch of friends of mine who started a comic book company when we were all working on Comic Book Men, the TV show, together.
All right, okay, cool. Right, so this is in pounds because I'm in England. So you only asked for $2,500. Currently, as it stands, you have 16 days to go, and you are sitting at 3,306. Not only that, I find that a huge 107 people have backed your project. How does that make you feel, knowing that you've hit your target, you've got such a large audience, and you've still got, at the time of recording, 2 weeks to go?
I feel great right now. I'll tell you that there was a day just 3 or 4 days in where I was convinced I was never going to make it. I started on a Thursday night everyone I knew, friends, family, anyone I knew who was going to support it right away. I tried to get everyone to support it early, because if you do well early, yes, exactly. If you prove you have some legs, you do well early. Kickstarter rewards you. The algorithm puts you in front of more people. They make you a project we love, which is what happened eventually. So that was a Thursday night. By Sunday morning, I had about almost $2,000. I needed 500 more, and then I got up to like 2,300, and then nothing all day Sunday. Nothing. I like frantically refreshing. $0 for like 20 something hours.
Since Sunday, like football day.
Yeah, I know. Like everyone was. It's a Sunday. Like everyone, no one's on the internet. People are trying not to look at their stuff. But I convinced myself, okay, all my friends and family did it, and now no one else is gonna care about this thing, and I'm dead, right? And then at like 11 p.m., there was a flurry of supporters. I hit my number right before midnight on Sunday night, and then when I woke up the next morning, I had the email from Kickstarter saying, we made you a project we love, congratulations. So it was such like a whiplash, but I was positive I wasn't going to get there, and then I've been doing very well. And the Kickstarter is really great at helping you once you show that, like, if you build a campaign that's very visual and people are interested in it, and there's a decent number of people who see it and then decide to contribute, Kickstarter is really great about rewarding you and kind of putting you out there more. So
cool.
If I give advice to anyone building their own, make it visual, make it pop, make it fun, and Kickstarter will help you.
Definitely. What I think what we need to remember when we talk at Kickstarters, and we'll come back to that in a second, is that it's on the internet, right? So you're international. That's the thing,
right?
So it's like it might be football o'clock in the States from 1 p.m. EST all the way up to God knows what time Sunday night football stops. Right. But there's a whole bunch of countries that don't think like that. Remember 1 p.m. your time or EST time is something like 6 p.m. my time.
Right.
So it's kind of like, where's it coming from? And do you get notification of where people are bidding from, or do you just?
I just get a notification saying there's a new subscriber. I can go inside. I can like log in and click on it and see where everyone's from if I want to.
Cool.
I haven't really done that a lot yet.
That would be interesting. That would be interesting. Right, time for a break for one of our other shows. You know what? You're a TV guy. Well, I think we'll play our most TV-centric advert and see what you think of this. How's that sound?
That sounds great. I'm excited.
All right, it is Crisis in the Toyverse. There you have it, Crisis in the Toyverse with Bobo and a whole cast of characters. Yes, he takes the figures out of the box. Don't yell at me. Thank you.
I've worked on so many shows where that was like an actual argument people had.
Oh,
You
man,
know,
I
they
hear
did
all
it on
the time.
Comic Book Men. I did a show called Epic Inc., which was these guys who started on the Star Wars tour doing tattoos. If you wanted Han Solo photorealistic tattooed across your chest, these are the guys. And they had that same argument about the toys. Open them, close them, keep them closed.
Comic Book Men. Is
Comic Book
this
Men.
the Kevin Smith project?
It is.
What's the store called?
The Secret Stash. Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It was on Prime. I watched all. There's like 3 seasons of the thing.
They did like 9 or 10 seasons of that show.
Oh, we only got 3 over here.
Yeah,
So,
I was the first. So I did the first season.
Oh man, I love that show.
Yeah, it's a great show. Those guys are so much fun. So Walt Flanagan from the show is an artist. He did a cover for me. One of my covers on Cicada Samurai is Walt Flanagan from the show.
You said Comic Book Men before before we came on show. It didn't even register me. I'm like,
Yeah.
That show. That show gave me the courage to go to my local comic book shop and start haggling on prices.
Oh, that's good.
That's
good.
Don't tell my guy that though.
Unintended consequences there.
Hey man, I just got a whole bunch of Supergirl for practically nothing. So hey ho.
Nice.
Right. Wow. What can I say? Supergirl's my guilty pleasure. So right. Okay. So this is Cicada Samurai. Let's have a look at what we've got.
Loading. There it is.
There it is. Taking a while. Internet connections. We've got some interior pages. What's it like working with an artist? Because I imagine you're probably used to having the collaborative kind of effort. You know, you've got the camera crew, and you've got the dude you're recording, whether it be your documentary or whether your game show. Then you've got the editing. You know, it's very much a team-oriented sport. When it comes to comic books, that teamwork still exists. How do you kind of deal with that?
Honestly, it's very similar. Like in television, for the last few years, I've been a showrunner, so I've been the executive producer, and I have a list of the cinematographers that I love to work with because they make me look good, and I have a shorter list of editors that I like to work with because they make me look really good, and so I get an idea in my head. I talk it through with the people who know how the camera and the editing works, and we figure out a way to kind of make the idea real, and they add to it, and it's great. So this is very similar. I wrote a script. I tried to be really specific where I needed to be, and then otherwise I tried to leave things wide open. And Mary, who is wonderful, Mary Landro is my artist. She did all the interior pages. She is great. So where I was specific, she always nailed it. Our Raven in this scene here, you can kind of see where it already starts to get a little hyper realistic. His giant claws. That's a monster that's going to try and wreak havoc on a couple of young cicadas' lives in a few minutes. But she kind of nailed this. It's this beautiful, serene little story. So this part I was a little more meticulous about, and she did exactly what I asked for and made it her own also. And then later I would say things like, this page should feel like this. And here, when it came to there's a fight later in the story, and I didn't go panel by panel for that. I just kind of described the feeling of it, and she did what she wanted. And it's beautiful. It's wonderful. So these are my 2 cicadas. The story in this little short story, just to set it up, is they're teenagers. So like I said, all these young cicadas, when they emerge, they're essentially 17 years old. They can't wait to get out. They all have senioritis. They can't wait to get out of the house and go see the sun. And so these 2 have decided to break the rules, which is what teenagers do, and they sneak above ground before it's time. And they just don't believe the hype. They've been told it's dangerous up there. You got to wait until we all go together. And they just don't believe the hype. So they sneak above ground. They just narrowly avoid getting eaten by a raven. And then, the sort of taller guy is kind of cool and talking his friend into sticking around. Like, oh, it's going to be fun. When we come up here in a few weeks with all the other our friends and the girls, we're going to know our way around. This is going to be awesome. Isn't it beautiful? And by the end of the next page, our little guy, whose name is Junie, can you scroll down a little more from there?
Yeah, I can.
So these are the next couple of pages. So by the end of this, you can see they're both smiling, except their shoulder, that gigantic raven is coming for them.
Oh dear God!
The
It's a
young
bird's,
guy
a
finally.
bird's eye view.
That's it. A bird's eye view. It's a bird's mouth view. It's awful. But he has his moment of rebellion, and he's having a little fun for the first time. He's like loosening up. Yeah, this could be fun. And then this is just carnage. And this is where Mary, I was just like, I want him to be smiling. I want it to feel like we zoomed out. He's still smiling. And you can see what she did where half of his face is there. And he's like, this part might not be for all ages here.
It's a circle of life. It's a circle of life.
That's true. They have to learn sometime. Sometime. But this is sort of what the book is. It's like there are monsters in the world. It is dangerous. In this case, literally, not just the way we tell our kids to be careful.
I love the line, look carefully, Junior is still smiling. He is.
Yeah.
He is, yeah. Spot on.
Yeah. And then our guy has to kind of spring into action. He hasn't lifted his sword in 17 years. And now he's got to come out of the ground and try and save the day before this raven kills the other one.
Cool. Excellent. Let's have a look at some covers. There's the main cover, which we're using as our backdrop. Very cool. Very, a little bit Power Rangers, maybe a little bit Shogun Warrior.
That's what I hear. It's the one I've heard is Power Rangers. And then right after that, people say, no, Beetleborgs.
Yeah.
Which is also sort of in that universe.
I think the green sets it off as the Power Ranger, definitely.
For sure. Yeah. I've had a bunch of people post memes of the green Power Ranger dancing.
Oh, that's fine. That's good.
Yeah.
The Walt Flanagan cover.
There's the Walt Flanagan cover. Walt has like a love for, old monster movies. So I love that each of these is so different. I didn't give him a ton of references. I didn't give him like all the old other covers. I just said what the character was and let him kind of run with it. And so he did this thing, which is like this, mutilated kind of half-breed monsters that this angry, gritty, kind of grizzled, older-looking cicada samurai character has just been like disemboweling all over the beach. Or it's like
didn't the guys put together a book that Dynamite sold? Which was kind of like a monster,
was it Dynamite? They did Cryptozoic Man.
Yeah,
that might have been Dynamite. Yeah. They did it on the show. They did it on Comic Book Man.
Yeah.
They did Cryptozoic Man. He's also done War of the Undead and something called Knights of the Fifth Dimension. And then, so Takashi Okazaki is the creator of Afro Samurai, which is that manga from years ago. He did the first design of my characters. So I took one of his designs and I made that into a cover.
Cool. Excellent. Right, let's have a look at the Kickstarters because this is always good fun. $6 gets you the digital copy. People give me grief for saying this, but I'll say it again. If you've got a Kickstarter going and you're looking for an international audience, digital copy's got to be the way to go, right?
Yeah, the Kickstarter we just did for Blue Juice was for a book called Billy the Kid. Right. If I try and ship a book to the UK from New York for one comic book, the shipping is 3 or 4 times the cost of the book.
Exactly.
If I want to ship one book to Australia, it was like $42.
Crazy.
It's insane.
I don't mind I like going in for Kickstarters and pledging and so on, but I will always, as much as I love having comic books in my hand because I'm a tactile type of guy, I'm going to go digital because you know what? I don't mind dropping $6 on a comic book. Right. I do mind spending $25 to ship it over, but worse even. So there you go. Yeah, so that's cool. You get the PDF copy of Cicada. 10 gets you the basic,
the original cover. All of the tiers come with the PDF. So if you get you get the PDF as well here.
Ships anywhere in the world. 20 gets you the Baron Von variant. Don't know.
So some of it's inside jokes. So Walt Flanagan is also part of the reason the Comic Book Men was kind of about podcasts. He's on a podcast called Tell Him Steve Dave with Brian Johnson, also from Comic Book Men, and with Brian Quinn, who's one of the Impractical Jokers. And they do a lot of like side fun stuff. And he plays a character called Baron Von Flanagan as like a vampire, sort of like a takeoff on like a monster Dracula kind of character.
Okay. Cool.
So it's really, people in the know kind of get it, but
right. So I'm not in the know. Fine, I am now.
You're not now. You are.
Okay. Another variant covered.
Mary's second cover. Yep. Which I just wanted something that kind of showed the perspective of how big this character is, because again, he's a bug.
Yeah.
So
that's a great point to make.
And then Takashi.
Yeah. You've got plenty of backers across all the different tiers. I think that's really telling.
Well, you know what? Takashi is a really well-known artist from, he did the designs. Mary has a really big following, and I think a lot of people like the cover art to kind of match what's inside the book, and she's doing the inside of the book.
Cool.
So both of her covers have done well there. And then Walt, it just has his own following of people who love what he does. And his take on the character is so different from everyone else. But I think his is the most popular cover so far.
Cool. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. With your pledges come rewards when the page loads. There we go.
Yes, sir. There it is.
That's more bigger.
It's sort of the same list.
Yeah, it's cool. It's just, it's kind of, because when we talk about animal type characters, your brain automatically thinks turtles, right?
Sure. Yeah.
It has to, because that's pretty much the I suppose the ones that are up there. What is it, do you think, that makes kind of like the idea of an animal character hero so popular? I mean, don't take it the wrong way. Disney's been doing animal heroes for years.
Yeah. I mean, it predates Disney by forever, Yeah. Like, I think that people have always just told stories about the things around them that they didn't understand. And then it just kind of became, muscle memory for human beings. You kind of, people personify, people treat their pets like they're humans with feelings and thinking, and, and some of them, I have a dog. I love my dog, but you just kind of start to tell stories about them, and they're fun.
Yeah. Cool. I thought I'd show the covers again in a kind of bigger fashion, so we get some
of course.
out of it. This is from the Ravens' point of view. I like that one. When you say Mary's done art, did Mary do colors as well for the book?
Yeah, Mary. So Mary does the whole book. Mary's she did the sketches, the pencils, the inks. It's all digital. She did colors, and she's going to do the lettering as well.
Man,
she does the whole thing.
I'm sure that's a union thing.
She's actually she's in Canada, so it might be a union thing, because the unions there are a lot stronger than they are here.
Yeah, she'll be like, I've done 3 jobs, therefore you need to pay me three lots of wages. Thank you very much.
That's it.
That's the Flanagan one coming up in a sec.
Yes, sir.
There we go.
There's Walt.
That is pretty gruesome. Like,
I loved it. Like, his original, he sent it with kind of a rough color. And he's not a colorist, so we actually, a guy named Slamet Mugiono, who I've worked with a lot, did the colors on this. But Walt did like kind of a color pass just to kind of let us know what he had in mind. Oh, and it's essentially was like a beach that had turned red with blood. It just was blood everywhere, and every character on the floor is half disemboweled with like an arm, a head laying next to its body. It just was so like gloriously and over the top violent. It's so much fun.
Cool.
Yeah,
love that. And then we have the Takashi one coming up in 2 seconds. Let's see, share screen.
Takashi's he does a lot of animation character design and anime character design, so it has that look to it. It looks almost like an animated character.
Yeah, still not. Yeah, it looks great. And do you know what I like? Do you know what I think I like the most about it?
Yeah,
is you mentioned how the character's only like year big. Out of all the pictures you've got, maybe with the exception of the
covers.
Yeah, the covers you've got. That's the one that screams book to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's nothing else around him other than, and I don't know, just
it looks like his version looked the most like a samurai, like a cicada.
Yeah.
Where you look at it and right away you're like, the first time he sent me a character design, I actually had to zoom in on the face to see that there's a humanoid face underneath that helmet. I didn't even see. I was like, did he just make it a bug? Does it just look like a bug? Which is cool. Would have been totally cool if that's what it was, But I zoomed, I pushed all the way in and realized his helmet is just, instead of being helmet sized. It's like this big.
I'm gonna have to challenge now.
There it is. See his face in there?
There you go.
I missed it because I originally got this image in black and white, and so I did not see the little face color in there.
Yeah, there you go.
But you can see it underneath it all, you know?
Yeah, there he is.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's
Excellent.
very cool.
Cool. I think it's because, for me, it's the backgrounds of that one. Because the black backgrounds are blurred. It gives it that kind of like almost what a forest would look like if you're in like really close up.
Right.
The delineation of the leaves and all that sort of stuff, it just disappears. It's just a massive color, isn't it? So
yeah,
that's why it works for me personally, but it works all the same. Excellent. Jerry, you'll be used to these. My final question. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Give me your elevator pitch on why people should be checking out Cicada Samurai.
Cicada Samurai. I think it's a fun book. I think like I wrote it with people who have kids in mind, and so you'll recognize the narration of the main character as sounding like a parent complaining about a bunch of rabble rousing kids, but underneath it all, it's just kind of a fun, uber violent, but really fun. Yeah, like uber violent, but super fun story. It's just a short taste. And it's a much bigger world. So, if people like it, I'm going to do more. I have a whole 6-issue arc story planned. That'll be next full, double-size issues. Actually, I'm going to do.
Yeah, cool.
But I'm very excited about it, and so I hope people check it out.
Cool. There you go, from the horse's mouth.
That's it.
As we say. Jerry, it's been absolutely fantastic speaking to you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. You must be absolutely rammed with all the different sort of things going on with your Kickstarter.
It is busy. It's a full-time job running a Kickstarter. That's for sure.
I'm looking for a new quarterback. I'm just saying. Well, what did I say there?
I'll tell you now. My family are more Giants fans than Jets fans. So when I watch football, I do lean a little bit more Giants fan.
I stand by my comment. You need a new quarterback. I'm joking. I think Jones is decent. I've got to be honest. I think he doesn't have a great supporting cast, and if Barkley's injured, you goose for another year. But give him a stellar target, and I think you'll be all right. Right, where was that? Right, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be baited on football. I really do appreciate that. The Kickstarter is still live. Go check it out. You want to see where to find it? It's dead simple. You head over to Kickstarter. That's the link. Now, I know what you say. Machine, the link's too long, man. Well, you know what? This day and age, you just go to Kickstarter. You type in the search bar, Samurai Cicada, and guess what will happen? It's that simple. All right? The link will be in the notes below the pod, so you can also click on there for you as well. If you want to keep everything up to date with Thorny Comics, there's a couple of social medias. You've got your Instagram there, and you've got your Facebook. They're easy to find. Again, just go to the platform, type Thorny Comics. However, it's not that hard.
It's the only one.
Before you go, why the name Thorny Comics?
My daughter's middle name is Rose, and so I wanted to use a rose as the logo, and so that was the name I came up with, and she gets to be a little part of every book now.
Oh,
I know, right?
Isn't that sweet?
Aren't I adorable?
Well,
she is. She's adorable. Yeah, she's very. Take my word for it.
Dad's always saying that about daughters.
That's true.
It's part of the rules. All right. That's it for another great show. Don't forget to check out the UCPN for all your favorite episodes of all your favorite pods, including, you saw the trailer for it earlier, Crisis in the Toyverse. And if you like your Marvel and Star Wars, don't forget to check out the No Prize podcast, where the guys run the rules over Marvel Comics, Disney Plus, the MCU, and of course, we'll be talking Ahsoka as it reaches its conclusion. And for all you DC diehards, don't forget the Definitive Crusade for everything that's DC, with a couple of new number ones coming this week. I'm sure the guys will be having a look at those as well. Whew. Big lungs.
I thought I was tired.
Yeah, fine. Well, it is 8:30 in the night for me. So, my last point is, I have been your host, Johnny Machine Hughes. As always, adios.
Visit undercovercapes.com for the latest and greatest podcasts via the Undercover Capes Podcast Network. Also visit our parent company website, comiccrusaders.com, all about comic pop culture.